Intensified evacuation from frontline communities, the state of our energy sector, and the story of a smuggler from Lviv region. I'll tell you about this and more next. It's 6 p.m. I'm Irina Kondrachuk. You're watching TSN Online. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and be sure to comment on which news story interested you the most. In the meantime, we're starting the broadcast. The mayor of Odessa, Odesa Trukhanov, has been stripped of his Ukrainian citizenship by presidential decree because, according to investigators, he also holds Russian citizenship. As a result, Trukhanov automatically loses his authority and can no longer serve as city mayor. Instead, a city military administration is beginning its work in Odessa. Who will lead it, and how did the people of Odessa perceive the recent events? Our correspondent Serhiy Osachuk will tell you.
Alarmed deputies, stunned Odessans, and demonstration in support of stripping Gennady Trukhanov of Ukrainian citizenship. The second day of Odessa fever, Odessa.
Military administration. The Mongols must return to Moscow.
The day before, more than 50 activists even popped champagne to celebrate the extraordinary news. Champagne. Since yesterday in Odessa, everyone is talking only about the mayor. Will Trukhanov really leave his post? And who will replace him? Behind me is the building of the Odessa City Hall, where for the second day in a row heated discussions have been taking place. Why has Trukhanov's Russian citizenship been talked about since 2014, but the decision to strip him of Ukrainian citizenship was made only now? According to investigative materials, the Ukrainian official received an updated foreign passport of the occupying country back in 2015. His internal Russian passport was confiscated by a court in the Moscow region in 2017. However, the cancellation or renunciation of such a document does not strip one of Russian citizenship. These are the documents that were shown by the SPU. Fake. And he never had a Russian passport. This in turn is what Gennady Trukhanov himself claims.
I have never had and do not have Russian citizenship. All the relevant documents are available, so I will fight, I will defend myself, and I am confident in my victory.
He adds that, as the head of the city administration, he underwent special background checks at the time, and there were never any questions about him. He says he will appeal to the US State Department, so that they can make official inquiries to Russia regarding whether he holds citizenship of the aggressor country.
We looked at this document, which was submitted to the Security Service of Ukraine. The person who signed this document on behalf of the Russian Federation has been behind bars since 2022. He hasn't worked for 3 years, the signatory. The form belongs to the police. It was signed and the stamp of the FM service is there, which was disbanded back in 2016 and issued all the permits. I passed these checks.
On the eve of the decree to strip Trukhanov of his citizenship, a corresponding petition appeared on the president's website, signed by more than 25,000 people. Activists are rejoicing that Trukhanov, having been stripped of Ukrainian citizenship, will be removed from office.
I believe this is a deoccupation of Odessa from this person, who for a long time now should not have been mayor. This is a person with Russian citizenship, a person with countless criminal cases against him. This is a disgrace for Odessa.
At the rally that took place the day before, Trukhanov was mentioned a lot, both for how he delayed the removal of communist monuments and for the deaths of people after the recent collapse in the city, and for the fire at the Victoria camp where children died. Activists are demanding that the court cases involving Gennady Trukhanov be brought to a conclusion.
Of course, I personally would like to see him behind bars for a long time, because in my opinion there are plenty of arguments for this, both within the Security Service of Ukraine and the anti-corruption agencies.
This is absolutely unacceptable. It was from the very beginning. And in 2017, when everyone already knew about this citizenship, we were waiting for decisions from Petro Oleksievich Poroshenko, who did not do this, and did not make the decision we were all expecting.
So who will replace Trukhanov? Just the day before, the president stated in his address that the city deserves greater protection and more support.
This can be done in the format of a military administration. Too many security issues in Odessa have remained without a proper response for too long. All effective decisions will be made. I will appoint the head of the military administration in the near future.
It was immediately rumored, though unofficially, that the head of the Dnipropetrovsk regional administration, Serhiy Lysak, would lead the military administration. Today, the head of the Odessa regional administration, Oleg Kipar, explained why this particular official is being considered.
there is a decision from the military command that this position should be filled by someone who was born in the city of Odessa, an experienced officer with combat experience who will only be an asset to others. For the residents,
For now, Odessa is waiting for the arrival of its new head, and here in the city hall, it's as if time has stood still. Right now, the main question for Odessa residents is how the city will get through what might be one of its toughest winters. How quickly will the new team with new specialists be able to get things running? Serhiy Osachuk, Serhiy Halinyuk, Odessa, TSN 1+1.
As a result of Russian shelling, emergency power outage schedules were introduced in the morning in the Dnipropetrovsk region. At night, critical infrastructure in several districts came under enemy fire. In the Chernihiv region, restoration work is still ongoing after previous shelling. There are also partial power outages there. Emergency power outages are also being implemented in the Sumy and Cherkasy regions. At the moment, there is no information on how long they will last. Ukrenergo is asking people to reduce their use of electrical appliances whenever possible, and this request applies to all of Ukraine. Last night, 3 districts of Kyiv were without electricity, and even more residents were left without water. All of this is due to the overload of the power grid. Around 1 in the morning, energy workers reported that they had repaired the damage, so the supply of resources is being restored. What happened is a technical malfunction, which also occurred during peacetime, says Anatoly Zamulko, acting head of the Energy Supervision Inspectorate. He asks Ukrainians to be understanding about these temporary difficulties, because in addition to the shelling, the work of energy workers is now further complicated by the cold weather and increased load on the power system.
At the moment, we can say that restrictions have been almost completely lifted across the entire territory, except, for example, in the Chernihiv region, where we still have scheduled hourly outages since previous strikes hit critical energy infrastructure, which is currently being repaired. Obviously, these should also include certain charging devices, and of course there should be proper insulation prepared for both the premises and for people, because there is only one way out of this situation. We need to take care of ourselves, ensure our own safety, and secure our capabilities.
Almost 19,000 people have been evacuated, including 4,000 children. Residents are leaving the frontline areas of Dnipropetrovsk region en masse. Evacuations have now been announced from the Mejivska, Malomikhailivska, Velikomikhailivska, and Pokrovska communities. The situation there is currently the most intense. Every day, the villages there are attacked by KAB bombs, Shaheds, and FPV drones. Entire streets are destroyed. Schools, shops, and post offices have been wiped out. Children from these settlements have already been evacuated, while the adults who remain risk their lives every day. Police officers and rescuers are urging them to leave, and with each passing day, the situation in the frontline communities is getting worse. There is discouraging news from the front. Analysts from the DeepState portal report that the enemy has occupied 3 settlements in Donetsk region at once and has advanced near 2 others nearby. This concerns the villages of Mirne, Komar, Perebudova, as well as Ivanivka and Voskresenka. They say the situation at the positions had been difficult for a long time, and in recent weeks it has become even worse because the Russians began clearing out this salient. The enemy simply destroyed part of the positions with artillery. As of now, the General Staff reports more than 1,500 clashes along the entire front line. A third of them took place in the Pokrovsk direction. According to preliminary estimates by the General Staff, the occupiers lost about 1,500 killed and wounded here the day before. Ukrainian defense forces destroyed 6 vehicles and 5 enemy drones, and also struck 2 unmanned aerial vehicle control points and 4 artillery pieces. At this very moment, NATO defense ministers are discussing further assistance to Ukraine and their own protection against Russian drones. Lately, they have been spotted more and more often in European skies. So, are any breakthrough decisions expected? And what is known in particular about the possible delivery of American Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine? A report from Brussels from NATO headquarters. Radio Liberty correspondent Zoriana Stepanenko, next.
American Tomahawks, which if they appear in Ukraine would in some way unlock a new level of support from allies, are a frequent topic of conversation at NATO headquarters. Especially among journalists, European ministers tell them that they will support any decision that strengthens Ukraine's long-range capabilities. It is precisely these long-range capabilities that are believed to influence the course of the war. Secretary General Stoltenberg, however, as expected, made it clear that the ministers of the allied countries would not discuss Tomahawks here, saying that this is a matter for the United States and Ukraine. But assistance to Ukraine remains a constant item on the agenda of the alliance countries. Among the key directions is the relatively new Pearl initiative, which involves other NATO allies purchasing American weapons for Ukraine. The head of the Pentagon expects that a greater number of countries will plan to make purchases on the American arms market. And he directly links these decisions to achieving peace in Ukraine.
The commitments will soon be transformed into capabilities, which is the most important aspect. And one of its components, of course, is support. If there's one thing we learned during President Trump's term, it's the active use of force to achieve peace. Peace is achieved through strength, not loud words or finger-pointing threats. It is achieved through strength when you have strong and real capabilities that are respected by your adversaries.
Currently, under this initiative, 13 countries have purchased or are planning to purchase aid packages for Ukraine. Today, Finland has joined this list. Its Minister of Defense announced the corresponding intention to journalists. Why American weapons? First, the European defense industry has not increased its production capacity to a scale that can meet Ukraine's needs. Second, it is specifically in the American arsenal that there are weapons with no counterparts in terms of effectiveness. At least that's how Ukraine's ambassador to NATO explained it to us. Her delegation, led by Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal, is persuading partners here to take an active part. And the Secretary General of the Alliance is optimistic about this.
There is every reason to believe today that many other countries will sign on to this extremely important assistance, including air defense systems and in particular interceptor missiles. These are important for Ukraine to ensure maximum protection of the civilian population and vital infrastructure from the ongoing Russian offensive.
Some countries have already announced new military aid packages for Ukraine today. The Netherlands is investing $90 million in drone production in Ukraine. There are unused capacities there. Estonia is sending its batch of drones. However, the defense minister of this Baltic country also emphasizes a worrying trend, the decreasing volume of military aid to Ukraine. Rutte did not agree with this statement. Our interlocutors in diplomatic circles of the alliance point out that the purchase of American weapons for Ukraine began in the middle of the budget year. They suggest that this may have affected, as some believe, the slow pace of investment. All expenditures for this year have already been planned in Ukraine. Planning for the next year will begin soon, so they can allocate a place for Ukraine's needs as well. All the more so because the outcome of the war there will determine whether there will be peace in Europe. Today, many NATO country ministers emphasize this point. From Brussels, Zoriana Stepanenko, Marek Hajduk, Radio Svoboda, especially for TSN 1+1.
Trump threatens Spain with tariffs over its refusal to increase defense spending. He announced this to journalists at the White House. The American president said he is very dissatisfied with Spain, as it is the only NATO country that has not raised its defense spending to 5%. Donald Trump considers this disrespectful to the alliance and is thinking about punishing the country with tariffs. Previously, Trump even suggested considering the possibility of excluding Spain from NATO because of its low defense spending. Spain has already responded to such statements from America. The Spanish foreign minister emphasized Spain's commitment to NATO. He added that his country is a reliable ally of the alliance and that Spain's military spending is at the 2% level in accordance with the commitments established at the 2014 summit. He noted that there is no doubt about Spain's contribution to Euro-Atlantic security. In this context, he reminded that 3,000 Spanish troops are currently ensuring the security of NATO's eastern flank. This is fundamental for the security of the skies over the Baltic countries, the politician stated. The oil depots in Feodosia are done for. Ukraine's defense forces delivered another strike on the marine oil terminal facility, destroying what remained after the previous attack. 16 storage tanks filled with fuel, according to the general staff. A large-scale fire has been raging at the site for several days now. The oil terminal in Feodosia is a key link in the occupier's logistics chain. The total volume of fuel that can be stored in the tanks is about 193,000 cubic meters, according to the report. In addition, the defense forces also struck a P-18 radar station in occupied Crimea at Chervona Poliana, a UAV control center in occupied Oleshki, and an ammunition depot near Makivka. Russia will feel the consequences of Ukrainian strikes on oil refineries until the middle of next year. This is what the aggressor country is reporting, according to Bloomberg. According to the International Energy Agency, oil refining in the aggressor country has dropped by 500,000 barrels per day. The export of refined fuel has reached its lowest level in 10 years, and total oil revenues are at their lowest in 3 months. Meanwhile, Reuters notes that Russia's seaborne export of oil products in September dropped by 17%. Analysts emphasize that strikes on oil refineries are creating long-term pressure on the budget. To compensate for the decline, Moscow is trying to increase crude oil exports. Meanwhile, Kyiv promises that strikes on Russian oil refineries will continue. Smuggling of luxury jewelry. In the Lviv region, a customs officer was detained for helping to illegally import jewelry from world-famous brands into Ukraine. According to the investigation, the official advised clients and explained how to hide valuables in their cars so they would not be discovered during inspections. And when these cars crossed the border, he personally conducted the inspections and, of course, found nothing. For his services, he demanded 4% of the value of the items. Investigators say that using this scheme, jewelry worth almost $400,000 was brought into Ukraine. And all of this was done without paying customs duties. The official was detained while receiving part of the bribe. He could face a prison term of 5 to 10 years. A triumph for Ukrainian chess players at the European Championship in Georgia. The Ukrainian men's chess team became champions while the women's team took second place. In the final 9th round, the Ukrainian men's team defeated England and confidently secured the gold medals. The Ukrainian women's team drew with Armenia, which earned them the silver medals. In addition, Ukraine won 5 individual awards at once. Anna Ushanina was the best among women on the second chessboard. Among the men, gold medals were won by Ihor Kovalenko and Ihor Semunenko. Natalia Zhukova and Bozhana Pidubna earned silver medals. It should be noted that both Ihor Semunenko and Bozhana Pidubna are only 16 years old. Congratulations to our chess players. With these achievements, the news broadcast comes to an end. In the meantime, leave a like on this video and hit the bell so you don't miss our live broadcasts. The next one will be with the highlights of this Wednesday. As usual at 7:30 p.m. Stay with TSN.